Check it out, the FIRE movement. Guess what, guys? They're lying to you about a lot of the things they're telling you about the FIRE movement. I'm gonna break it down for you. 10 things about the FIRE movement that most people have totally wrong. We're gonna get into it right now.
Shut up and sit down.
Okay, there are so many videos, blog posts, podcasts, YouTube channels, videos, everything, all the information out there about the FIRE movement. And a lot of it is lies. A lot of it is misconceptions. A lot of people, everybody's just racing so fast. They think that the FIRE movement means to retire. It used to mean like by 40 and now it's by 30 and now they're saying retire by 25 and they're just trying to get there faster and faster and faster. So they're inventing lean fire and coast fire and barista fire and all these things that aren't actually even fire. You're still having to work. The key, my friends, is financial independence and then find recreational employment. What are you going to do if you retire when you're 25? I mean, for the next 70 years, you got to figure out what your goal is and what you really want to do. But anyway, I'm going to tell you 10 different things that I think people have wrong, whether it's the media side of things that they're portraying that are wrong about the FIRE movement, and some of the things that people who are achieving the FIRE movement have wrong in their brains about how they're trying to get there. Okay, number one. Sorry, I'm in the middle of a bunch of remodel projects and I got Band-Aids on a lot of my fingers. I'm a little bit clumsy. Anyway, number one is you don't have to live in a cave. I, for instance, have this big house. This is my house in Florida. I also live in the Virgin Islands. I also have houses in Puerto Rico. A lot of them I rent and make money on, but I have a nice house. This is my house. You don't have to live in a cave. You can live somewhere nice and you can still be working towards FIRE. Number two, you don't have to drive a $500 car. You can get a decent car. Like you need to live somewhere nice and you have to have decent transportation. This extreme frugality is a myth. You don't have to just live in a cave in your parents' basement and eat ramen noodles all the time. So those are two things that you can still actually live a normal life while you're in the pursuit of FIRE. Number three is like what I just said. You don't have to eat ramen noodles every day. I like to think of the FIRE movement as like a barbecue and not as making a cake. You don't have to, there's not a specific recipe you have to follow to the T. It's more like watch all the information on FIRE and take the bits out of it that you like watching a barbecue show and watching somebody cook a brisket. You don't have to do it exactly. You're not going to have the same spice rub as anybody else. Just do what feels right and take the bits and pieces out that are going to work for you. Number four, you can still go on vacation. We go to Europe every other year to see my wife's family, and we do another vacation somewhere else in the corresponding years. So every year we go at least on one big vacation outside of the US to another country, and we travel the world, and it only costs like maybe $3,000 is the average of what our vacations cost, and an extra $3,000 into your index fund is not going to make you retire 10 years faster. So just take the vacation. You could go somewhere cheaper or you could go more expensive. It doesn't matter. Just the whole point is you got to enjoy life as you're pursuing FIRE and you're going through to live in frugality for 50 years to have a life of frugality in retirement. That shouldn't be the goal for anybody. Okay, those first five are some of the misconceptions that I think sort of the media portrays about what the FIRE movement is about extreme frugality and sacrifices and sacrificing your youth to live in a cave and eat ramen noodles so that you can achieve FIRE and live a super frugal life. Like that's not what the movement is about. So the next five things I want to talk about are things that I think a lot of people who are in pursuit of FIRE have wrong, and some of the things that like what a lot of these YouTube videos are selling people, or Instagram of everybody who's in the FIRE movement just posting pictures of their vacation lifestyle on the golf course or on the Caribbean island, which is where I live, or whatever it is, just showing that they just lay on the beach all day. And there's a lot of misconceptions on that side too. So number six is you're going to need more money than you think you are. Most people have this idea, like if I save $1 million, I can retire and live like a king. Well, $1 million doesn't go that far anymore. And if you're going to do the 4% dealio that everybody talks about, at 4%, you're living on 40 grand a year. And if you're 20 years old, maybe you're making 40 grand and you're thinking, well, that's great. That's how much I make now. But trust it from a guy who's 48 years old that I don't want to live on 40 grand. I couldn't have this house and live on 40 grand. I can't travel the world on 40 grand. And I don't want to live in a tiny little apartment and eat ramen noodles in my 50s and my 60s. So you better up those goals if you're planning to just save your way to retirement and do it all through investing. You're going to need way more than $100 million. Number 7, it's going to take longer than you think. If you're a W-2 worker trying to save as much money as you can, you're not going to retire in your 20s or in your 30s. I'm going to pop in here a graph from an investment calculator. The power of compounding interest is a wondrous thing, and it's fun to play with these compounding calculators. But check this out. If you're making $100,000 a year and you're able to save 25% of your income, which is pretty good. Most people can't even do 10%. So if you're able to save 25% of your income, you put $25,000 in the first year and you contribute $25,000 every year. After 19 years, you'll finally have $1 million. So this assumes A, at 20 years old, you have a job making 100 grand, and B, you can save 25% of that, and C, that you're going to do it consistently for 19 years. So by the time you're 40, you'll have $1 million. But we already said $1 million isn't enough to retire on unless you want to live on a paltry $40,000 a year. So it's going to take longer, it's going to take more saving, and it's going to take more work than you think it is. Number 8, you're going to change your mind like at least 3 times throughout your FIRE journey about what your FIRE number is, how you're going to get there, what kind of investment strategies you're going to do. So get started down the path, but just know that the path goes like this. It's not a straight line from right now to I'm going to retire in 5 years. It doesn't work like that, especially with the investment route. So just know that get started on the path and start saving money. That's great. Work for the financial independence. That should be the real goal. Then you can find the recreational employment later. But just know that your end isn't going to be where you think it is. And number 9, this is the reason that I'm changing the name of the movement to Financial Independence Recreational Employment, is when you get to FIRE, I guarantee you, you're going to be like, maybe I'll work 1 more year. Or maybe I'll just get a little bit more padding in there. Maybe I need a little bit more money. That target is a moving target. And I reached financial independence like 3 years ago, but I'm not ready to retire early because I want to be like into Fat FIRE for sure. If you want to use all these FIRE names, which drive me a little bit crazy. I think Fat FIRE is really the only FIRE. The rest of them are just like the road to FIRE. And number 10 is simply that you can enjoy the ride as you're making your quest towards the FIRE movement. You can, like I said, live in a nice house, have a nice car, just like all things within reason. Don't buy the biggest house. I always say, don't buy the biggest house you can qualify for. Buy the smallest house you can stand to live in comfortably, and don't buy a car that's so crappy that you're going to put $500 a month into repairs. Like, get something decent, and go on the vacation and get the steak and have a good meal and enjoy the ride while you're going along. And just know, don't try to get out of the game. Don't try to retire early as fast as you can. Keep earning some more money so that when you do finally pull the plug and retire, that you can live a nice, good life. So those are my thoughts on 10 things that they're lying to you about the FIRE movement and that you might be lying to yourself about. So I hope that this might make you think a little bit. And if it has, I hope you'll consider hitting the like button. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing as we try to build this up, because the more that you support me, the more I can make these wonderful videos for you. Thank you.